Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Well, I've got something very special for you guys today, and this is something very different, which I want to try out. This is like a test run, which is I want to do kind of like a Bandit highlights commentary of Black Panther. Now, I've done commentaries before, but it's always been a case of getting hit with copyright strikes and this and that, so I know it's very likely I'm going to get hit with a copyright strike for this. So I'm going to chop it into parts, so if there's certain parts that get hit with copyright strikes that I can't clear, I can at least have ads on the other parts and stuff like that. But I'm also taking into account that Marvel is usually pretty good with this kind of stuff, that they're okay with you using content as long as you don't show the whole movie. So I'm not going to show the whole movie. I'm just going to give commentary in Black Panther for certain important parts, because I didn't do a review of Black Panther when it originally came out, because as much as I enjoyed the movie, I did have certain criticisms of it. I did want to give those criticisms at the time because there was a lot of hysteria around it. Anyone criticizing the movie was called racist or whatever. And I do have criticisms of the movie, but it's more based on them reusing the Marvel formula so to the letter, so diligently. It's like how many times you have to use the same formula. But of course they broke that in Avengers Infinity War, but I digress. So and there's also a number of parts in this movie that I really, really like. I'm very fascinated with Killmonger's story because this really is his story. And there's lots of little bits to his character and parts to his character that I don't think people have picked up on before. So guys, crack a beer, kick back with me. We're going to watch Black Panther. We're going to have a great time. We're going to talk about it. And hopefully we won't get flagged to death for copyright strikes. And if it works, maybe we can do this again with other Marvel movies. Okay, so let us begin.
Baba,
Yes, my son.
tell me a story.
Which one?
The story of home.
Okay, so a story of home. So the very first thing we get in Black Panther, before we even see anything, it's just a black screen, is Killmonger talking to his dad. How do we know it's Killmonger? Well, he says, you can recognize the dad's voice, that it's his dad later on, but also because he says, tell me about home. And of course, Killmonger's not home. He's not in Wakanda. Black Panther, if it was Black Panther saying this, he's already in Wakanda, so it seems weird that he'd say, tell me about home when he's already there. Obviously, he's not. So it's Killmonger's story. It's the first thing we hear, and it's like the last thing, or one of the last things we see. It's all about him. It's all about Killmonger. And if they are going to bring Killmonger back, I'd really like that, because he was a very interesting character. Unfortunately, he falls victim to another one of those annoying Marvel tropes, which is killing all the villains.
Millions of years ago, a meteorite made of vibranium, the strongest substance in the universe, struck the continent of Africa.
Here's the problem with this part of the story, is that Wakanda's wealth and all its technology and everything comes from the Vibranium. Now, as for the comics, I'm more of a DC guy, I'm not so much of a Marvel guy, so this is probably answered in the comics, but just looking at the movie, we don't get any indication of where this Vibranium comes from. It just comes from Spider-Man 3 explanation. Space! You know, the Venom explanation. That's all you need to say. And Vibranium, isn't that's what Captain America's shield is made out of. That's what Ultron was made out of. It's kind of like a substitute for adamantium, because in this movie universe, they can't use adamantium, which is Wolverine's claws, because they don't have rights to Wolverine to use him in the movies yet. They might soon. So they just substitute it for Vibranium. But in this, it's like, okay, it's a super strong metal, a near indestructible metal. Why is it a limitless source? Because they mention later on, Ulysses Claw mentions that they've mined so much of it, yet they barely even scratched the surface. Does it regenerate? Does it regrow? How does that work? And why is it like they can use vibranium to heal people? It's just a metal. How do you use a vibranium for technology? How? Is it like a transformer? You get a chunk of metal and it goes and it just turns into a train or something? Like, just I'd like to know. I just like to know. I mean, because if it's just a metal, how would they even discover it has all these properties in the first place? It'd be kind of difficult. But anyway, and another thing is all of the wealth and all the prosperity from Wakanda comes from the vibranium, this natural resource, or could be an unnatural resource. We don't know where it comes from. But in real life, often it works out quite the opposite. There's such a thing. It's referred to as the natural resource curse, which is you look at countries around the world that are naturally very, very rich in natural resources, and often it actually works out to have some of the poorest people in the country, which is not what you would expect. You would expect the opposite. But the reason is because if the ruling class in that country, if their resources comes from like taxes from the people, they have some kind of incentive to keep the people happy and healthy and in a fairly good standard of living so they can be productive, right? However, if the majority of the wealth in your country is dug out of the ground, you don't give a damn whether the people are happy or not. You don't give a damn whether they're healthy or not. In fact, it's generally better to keep them half-starved, because if they're half-starved, they're not going to be able to rise up and overthrow you. You can be stupidly rich from this natural resource extracted out of the ground, which you don't even have to do yourself, because you can outsource it to foreign companies to come and extract it for you, and you just get a chunk of the profits. So often, and having rich natural resources in a certain nation turns out to be terrible. It turns out to be one of the worst things for the people who live there, because their happiness now becomes not only irrelevant, but kind of a liability. You don't want them to be happy. So it's the natural resource curse. Wakanda is bucking that trend. They've got the wealthiest natural resources on the planet, and yet it's a great place to live. I'd like to know how they figured that out, because in real life we're still trying to figure that out. Okay, let's go.
A warrior shaman received a vision from the Panther goddess bust, who led him to the heart-shaped herb.
So the Panther god leads him to the heart-shaped herb. Store that memory in the back of your mind, because it's going to be very important to later on. Because if we know Black Panther's powers come from this herb, and when we see what Killmonger does to the herbs later on, it could affect the future of, like, if they're going to make, well, of course they will make more Black Panther movies, but it could have a big impact on what's going to happen in the future. So just bear that in the back of your mind.
To keep Vibranium safe, the Wakandans vowed to hide in plain sight.
And we still hide, Baba?
Yes.
Why?
And that's really the story of this movie. Do we still hide? Yes. Why? Now I'm very much on the pro hiding side. Like, I mean, a lot of countries, like the longer they have gone without being discovered by the rest of the world, generally seems to be good. You know, I mean, like the Japanese, they were able to isolate themselves for quite a long time, and they were all pretty happy. You know, until the British came and the Americans came and forced them to open. Likewise, Aboriginals here in Australia, no trouble. They're just walking around, chilling out, eating some grub, nothing to worry about. But as soon as the outside world comes knocking, oh, you got problems. Now, of course, being isolated, that also creates other problems, that we don't tend to innovate and invent and look for new things unless we have a reason. So like one of the reasons that in Europe everybody invented a lot more stuff is because we were constantly fighting with each other all the time. So we've got a lot of incentive to try to get an edge over the competition, the French with the Germans with the Italians with the Spanish with the British, and everyone was like fighting each other all the time. So isolating yourself, you're going to have a more peaceful life, but you're not going to develop technology as fast. Once again, Wakanda seems to be bucking that trend. They've not only have they avoided the natural resource curse, they've also managed to become scientifically advanced while living in a bubble. Very difficult to do. So you gotta choose. Do you want to be open and develop, or do you want to be closed and probably not develop as fast because you don't have a need to? So it's a pick your poison kind of thing. But Wakanda, once again, is not bound by the laws of reality because this is a fictional universe. Okay, so let's keep going.
Leave us.
This is James. I trust him with my life. He stays. With your permission, King T'Chaka.
Okay, Killmonger's dad says, let's let James stay here and listen to this whole conversation because I trust him with my life. Now, that works out really well for how the scene plays out later on. It makes very little sense as to why he would want to do that, considering what he knows at this moment. I mean, we figure out in a minute that James is actually a spy. He doesn't know that. So if this guy with you is just one of your foot soldiers, why do you want him to suddenly understand Wakanda and Vibranium and who Black Panther is and the powers and the prince and blah, blah, blah? Isn't that kind of a liability? I mean, I know you've got your own agenda of you want to sort of empower African Americans with the Vibranium, but maybe wait until you actually have the Vibranium before you tell this kid any of that stuff. It just seems weird to me. Just seems weird to me that he'd let him stick around. Anyway, whatever.
Ulysses Claw stole a quarter ton of Vibranium from us and triggered the bomb at the border to escape. Many lives were lost.
See the look on Killmonger's dad's face there. Do you think he knew that Wakandans were killed? Like, I mean, assuming if he worked with Ulysses Claw, if he worked with him to get the Vibranium, do you reckon he gave him instructions to not kill a lot of people, or did he not really care? Maybe he thought the ends justify the means, but that look on his face, I don't know. Do you think he knew? I like this new intro where it starts out with the comic book panels and then it slowly transitions into the movie shots. It's really good. I really love this holographic device thing he's got here. So you can pick it up, he can interact with it, so you can open it and see there's the person he wants in there. It's like the hologram stuff of Tony Stark, but it's made of like Vibranium, I assume, the magic metal that can do anything. It's a nice touch though. Batman! No, Batman! So here we've got the obligatory opening action shot, basically there for one reason, which is to remind us all what Black Panther is actually capable of. Again, here comes in the Marvel formula. Do we really need to have an opening scene to demonstrate what Black Panther can do? Yes, because the formula requires it, I guess. We need to be able to see how good he is at combat and all this, but apart from that, does this scene really necessary? I mean, who cares about these dudes who are smuggling people for whatever reason? Who cares? Like, if he wants his girlfriend Spy back, just send her a message, tell her to come back. That's all you need. I mean, what's a big deal? But Marvel formula, and it's a winning formula. I just would like to see them mix it up a bit.
I have her. Don't move. I will shoot. Wallahi, I will shoot her right now.
It's kind of weird that guy didn't just try to shoot Black Panther immediately. I guess he knew that he was already bulletproof from the fight, in which case probably should have just run away. Like, what was he planning to do there? Did he want Black Panther to take off his helmet so he could shoot him? Did he want to get the slaves away? Is that what they're doing? I don't know. Don't question it. It's just so she can stab someone with a spear.
You froze.
And make that joke, of course. Come on.
My father is dead, Nakia. I will be crowned king tomorrow. And I wish for you to be there.
Huh. So she didn't know the king was dead, but she doesn't have any questions? She's like, really? How did it happen? You know, was it an accident? Did he have a heart attack? Was he assassinated? Nope, no questions. She just kind of nods and walks off. Like, they build this relationship between the two of them, and it's like, they've broken up. They establish that they've broken up. Why? Why does she not want to be with the future king of Wakanda? Like, what are you doing, girl? You think there's a better offer out there? This guy's going to be king of the most technologically advanced nation in the world, but you're still like, nope, not good enough for me. I'd rather do these missions. Yeah. Again, it's Marvel fiction. It defies the laws of reality. I like the way they designed this. It's like the African Fifth Element kind of combination, like a fusion of like futuristic and African. But I do have to admit, it does seem to be just one city. Like, I mean, do they have more than just one city? I mean, I assumed that they would, but we only really see one? I thought they'd have like 20 cities all across Wakanda. Apparently not.
I can't wait to see what kind of update you make to your ceremonial outfits. Shorty!
Sorry, mother.
It's cool interaction. I like that they got the whole brother-sister banter thing down. You know, I'm sorry to be a stickler, but he's the king, right? So flipping him off in public around other people, kind of not good form. I mean, I'm sure, you know, in the privacy of your palace, you guys can goof around as much as you like and you can flip him off, but in public, maybe refer to him as king and maybe don't flip him off. Maybe don't make fun of him in front of other people about him freezing or not knowing about the beads. Just saying, it's kind of good protocol to show respect to your king, even if he is your brother, especially in public. Sorry, I'm a bit old school like that.